Football made simple. Become great at your craft by finding ways to make it simple for those around you. This is the Coaching 101 podcast hosted by Findaway Productions with your co-hosts, Daniel Chamberlain and Kenny Simpson. What is happening, coaches? This is the Coaching 101 podcast. I'm Daniel Chamberlain. That over there is Kenny Simpson. Coach, we've got a little splash of cool weather hitting us here. As I'm sure that you're over there preparing for – y'all get spring ball, correct? I have to ask every time. I can't ever remember.
We did. We've had 2 weeks where we just did 2 days, and then we've got next week where we'll finish up. We're only going to do 3 days because I've got graduation tonight, and then we have state soccer coming up, and I had a coach who just had his second child, and we hired 3 new coaches, so it's been a whirlwind of a spring.
Yeah. No, and I think that's okay. The giving you the ability to use those days if you want, and some people are in different places, right? You probably don't need to go out and get a full install in, or when you spend that time with coaches.
Right. No, it's you like to do spring just so you can kind of get moving, but you also have a lot of kids and coaches, myself included, that we're ready to be done with the school year. And so sometimes when you push real hard in the spring, people are ready to be done, and you may push them to be done. So you have to kind of understand what we're trying to do. We've still got 3-4 months till meaningful football is going to happen. There's no need to go out and unless we're evaluating somebody or we're working on a scheme, and that's good. We're blessed in Arkansas where we have team camps in the summer. So that's where I spend most of my evaluation time because we're going against other teams. So it's a little better view.
Are y'all still traveling? Y'all went to is there one in Missouri or something?
Yeah, so we do. The way I set up our summer is June, we always host. So we'll have 2 team camps and a 7-on-7. We'll host our school. One of them's got 8 teams coming. One's got 6 teams coming. And then our 7-on-7, usually about 12 to 16 teams. So if you're listening to this and you want to make the drive and it's legal for you, feel free. At 7-on-7, we've actually had a couple states show up. So that's June 16th, I think. Then we have dead period here. Basically June 20 through the 4th of July is dead. Then when we come back in July, we start kind of hitting the road. So I take them down to Little Rock to see some of the best schools in the state, and we compete with them. Then we have one down the road, my friend who got the head coaching job at Newport. He'll host one. We'll go see a little bit of speed over there. And then we take them, you mentioned the end of the summer, we have that Gun T camp in St. Louis. So depending on the year, we've had schools from 3 or 4 different states show up, and you get to see a whole lot of Gun T, but different versions of it. Last year, we had Tipton, Missouri came, and they won the state championship in Missouri. We had a school in Illinois show up, and we had obviously Arkansas was represented with us. So it's been pretty cool to do that. We end our summer with that, and then we give our kids off a week before official football starts.
Yeah.
So it's been we kind of section out. We have spring, early summer, late summer, and then when we're into August, we hope by that point we kind of know who's going to play where.
For sure. Well, that's awesome, man. It's good to be able to get to another state and see the same concepts and right to kind of share the wealth has been shared. So, well, that's awesome. Let's jump in real quick here, Coach, to the quote of the week, and then we'll push on with our conversation.
Sure, yeah. Quote of the week, which we have Team Themes Volume 6, will come out in July. So this is going to be out of that book. There's also Team Themes Volumes 1 through 4 that you can go over at fbcoachsimpson.com and get. This quote comes from the newest one. It's anonymous, so it means I probably just couldn't figure out who the original person was that said it. But the quote is, "Adversity is not an excuse to lower standards. It is an opportunity to prove that standards were real in the first place." I thought that was pretty good. In our society, and really just in anywhere, it's really easy to make excuses when things don't go well instead of look at it as an opportunity to get a little better. We've got 4 kids out This spring, with a variety of injuries, we'll get them all back for the season. But as a coach, that's pretty frustrating. You got 4 kids that are pretty good players that aren't able to participate. But the flip side of that coin is that's 4 or 5 or even 6 different kids that are getting an opportunity now to show you what they can do. So that's what we're trying to focus on in the spring is some of you are getting an opportunity to do something you're not going to get that again. So try to take advantage of that, and as reality would have it, some of them are not rising to the occasion, and so they have their chance.
Yeah.
Some of them are rising to the occasion, and you're going, oh, that guy's doing better than I thought he would. So again, the idea of adversity gives you 2 ways to look at it. You're going to have it either way, so you might as well look at it in a positive light.
The seeing kid, I know we're talking football here, but I've been able to see this happen on our son's baseball team this year. Is this that adversity, right? When
Right.
kids don't show up, they don't, and my son's been one that didn't make a practice, or the games we've had some kids not show up, and it's just got to kind of bump people around, right? Now we're talking 8U baseball, so it's less. It matters less. It's pitch. The machine is pitching, so it's not like you're going to miss a starting pitcher, but still, I mean, you're out there trying to get a ball from shortstop to first, and shortstop ain't there. That's a little bit different. So it's been fun to watch him get some reps at different places. We had a catcher that had to, I think he went out with injury, if I'm not mistaken. He got hit with a ball, and we had to bump another kid up, and that kid never gave it back. He's like, "No, I'm good. I'll just be the catcher for the rest of the year." So sometimes you find a diamond in the rough when you don't know. Baseball's been really fun to watch this spring, is talk about adversity and whatnot. Watching 8U kids try to figure out baseball is a lot of fun. All right, man. Well, let's jump through these ads. Ace Sports, if you guys haven't gotten over to acesports.com or talk to Mark, look, the website's there. You can go look at some of the stuff, but man, get on the phone with Mark. Tell him your dream. Let him build out the vision to get there. Fundraising cheat code is what this is. Okay. So you're wanting to get up a nice thing. The video boards are great quality. They're a wonderful product to have on your field. I think they're a lot of fun to get to go put up all the video and pictures. And man, you can celebrate soccer and band, and you can do it for homecoming, whatever it is you're wanting to use it for. But the fundraising is really where it gets in. You start getting that ad revenue. Holler at Mark and let him walk you through all the pieces. Get him in front of your admin now, and so you can start building out a board idea for next year. That's acesports.com, or you can email mark.bridges@acesports.com. Winning Edge Performance Analytics. Doug has kind of revolutionized what he's doing on his side with it's like, I mean, you're getting a tendency report. You're getting, I don't want to call it AI. It's just analytics. It's just someone, you will have someone putting the information in. And in game, it's giving you a breakdown of what's hitting, what's not, what's hurting you. Is it a player? Is it? And sometimes, some of that's gut feeling. You can kind of tell that, hey, they're stud wide receivers tearing us up. That's fine. But you can see how he's doing it. Who's he beating? What coverages is he getting the best reps against? Offensively, you can kind of look at what we're talking core run plays today. What core run plays are working? What aren't? Is it a tag that's making them work better? Also, you can see a lot of stuff in there. Whatever you put into the machine, it'll spit out and kind of let you know what's working, what isn't. This year, he's even gone a little further, and he's going to be doing some putting in your opponent's information, seeing what they expect to run on Friday nights, what's been good for them. I'd send him my defensive play call sheet, and he basically just rebuilt it in the macros. And so he's able to take film, you upload you break down the film, upload the data, and boom, your defensive play call sheet is created. So pretty excited to see how that works this year. So check out Winning Edge Performance Analytics. And last but not least, Blended Threads LLC, little embroidery and screen printing shop there in just on the south side of Jones, Oklahoma. If you're looking for someone to build out a pro shop, if you're wanting to kind of deck out your players, your coaches, whatever it is, you can do auction stuff. You can get, if you're doing 7-on-7, whatever it is that you're needing equipment for, hats, shirts, jackets, reach over there and let Morgan, kind of hook you up. Morgan at blendedthreadsllc.com. Shoot her an email, kind of see what she can offer. All right, man, let's jump in here. Part 1, So today we are talking about core run plays, and I know I feel like core run plays has expanded over just since I've been in football, which is less than 10 years. I'm sure some of these plays existed. I'm thinking of like the addition of duo, right? Duo. I don't feel like 7 years ago, many people cared about duo. Maybe I just hadn't heard of it yet, which is fine. We live under a rock here in Northeast Oklahoma. So, but there's lots of plays out there that seem to be getting added, or they've gone away. And because football is cyclical, they're coming back. So you're looking at whams, traps. There's some stuff out there that are not necessarily new, but the world went the way of inside zone for a long time. And now we're kind of coming back to that, run everything, gap scheme, etc. So I'm pretty excited to just talk about some core run plays today. And Kenny, obviously you bringing in the buck and the belly and those things, great core run plays. Those aren't something that are on my radar all the time. So I'm kind of excited to kind of talk about all the different ones that exist. And then later we'll get into, picking and choosing which ones to run.
Yeah, no, I think like you said, it's like anything, there's, basically how do we want to attack the field? And there's lots of ways to do that. And that's what you have to decide as a coach in the passing game and the running game. And the running game has become a little more, especially like the high school level, about even say the NFL level, people are starting to tie them together where the running and the passing game kind of, you can think West Coast offense guys, you can thank Sean McVay for kind of bringing in my mind, the old wing T-ish mindset of same backfield action with all these boots. And he does some really, really cool stuff with his play action stuff that pairs with running like split zone and the stuff that he's running. So the running game is important because it can dictate a lot of your, a big chunk of your passing game. So obviously you got to figure out how that's going to go. And I think that's what you have to decide before you even get into going, what are our core runs going to be, is what kind of team are we going to be?
Yeah.
Are we going to be an air raid team? Mike Leach, am I a Mike Leach disciple? Or we're going to sling it, we're going to run mesh. If that's the case, you don't need more than one or two core runs. That's all you need, because you're going to spend so much time screen, passing game, whatever that's going to be. If you're going, okay, we want to be a little more balanced, we would like to be a kind of a balanced team. Well, now maybe you pick 3 or 4 core run plays, because you still got to focus on the passing game. That takes some time, and pass pro, that takes some time. Or you're in the third category where you're going, we're going to be like what I have seen probably 80% of high schools is we might be spread, but we're going to run the ball. Like, we're going to run the football. And if that's your world, then maybe you need 4 to 5 core run plays, and your passing game can kind of shrink. So ask that question first, then you kind of go, okay, if we're going to do this, we need to attack these certain areas on the field. And so the areas that I see in the run game that every offense should try to kind of attack, you got to have a perimeter run. If you're going to be, throwing the ball quite a bit, you might only need one. Maybe that's outside zone or jet. Okay. If you need to attack the inside of the defense. That could be inside zone. That could be power. That could be duo. That could be whatever that's going to be. Then you need to have some kind of action where we look like we're going one way and boom, we're attacking the other way in the run game. Most people would refer to that as some version of a counter. Okay. Yeah. Or it could be like a reverse. So whatever offense you pick, you're going to need to attack those areas in the run game. If you decide, like Coach Simpson's offense, the gun T, that we're going to be kind of heavy in the run game, we want to attack those areas lots of different ways. So for us, our outside run game has Trojan and Buck Sweep. We got 2 of them because we want to have 2 different ways to attack that area of the defense depending on how they're going to play us. We have what we call belly, which is kind of our version of an inside run. Some teams will have trap. That's another one you could mix in there, where we want to attack the inside of the run game. And then we have a double handoff, or what we call counter. And then we also have some speed option stuff out the back door, where we're going to give run look one way, come back and attack the other way. So that's when you're building your core run game, you gotta go through that. Then you have to decide, are we going to be primarily a gap team or primarily a zone team? You're not wrong either way. I do think it's easier, which is why we choose to do it, to run gap scheme. The rules are a little cleaner, easier for running backs to not have to make 35 decisions. But I've also, in the past, we've run zone. It's not a bad scheme, but I don't think you can be great at both. So you need to kind of pick which one are we going to live with. And if we want to add a little bit, that's fine, but that's not going to be kind of what we major in.
Right.
Then you got to decide on, like, are we going to be heavy in the RPO game? Or are we going to be heavy in the play action game? How are we marrying our play action and RPO with this action that is going to be in our run game? So in the shotgun, the RPO has kind of become the thing because basically it's a cheat code because you can run it or pass it. Under center, obviously, you're probably doing more play action. But how are we marrying up what looks like a run and we're attacking areas on the field in the passing game? So you've got to figure all that stuff out as you're putting your core runs in. And then the last thing I'm going to mention on the first part here is who's going to run the ball for you primarily? Are you going to be mainly running back? That's fine. Or are you going to use other players, like maybe a receiver? He's a pretty good athlete. He's going to kind of be your jet guy. Maybe you got an H-back or a fullback type kid who also we want to get him involved. Or maybe it's the quarterback. Maybe he's a dynamic athlete and we want to get him involved in the run game. Well, how does that work? Like, is that going to make us have to change how we're blocking things? Or is it just an easy way to get into an empty look and run against a lighter box? Or maybe I can use my running back to give a fake, or he can go lead and I gain a blocker. So as you're building at your core runs, you got to kind of consider all of those things, and then you start writing up, okay, this is who we want to be. We're a heavy run team, or we're a heavy pass team. So because of that, we need this many. Here's how we're going to get there. Here's how we're going to pair it with our RPO game. Here's how we're going to pair it with our play action game. So there's a lot of thought process that has to go in before you can even make a decision of, hey, I want to run inside zone. Why? Why do you want to run inside zone? Who's going to run it? How does it work? So you've got to ask all those questions before you just decide. I think that's where a lot of coaches get into issues, is a lot of us that are coaching, myself included, we didn't play O-line, so we don't really understand the scheme up there really well. We understand the scheme on the back end, the play action, the passes. We understand that stuff. We don't really understand the issues we're creating up front if we just randomly throw in a run play, like how much time that's going to take to learn all the intricacies of what if I get an underfront? What if I get an overfront? What if I get a 4-3? What if I get a 3-4? What if I get a 5-2? What if I get a slanting team? What if they blitz? All those are questions you've got to have answered. So when you're putting in your run game, you need to be an expert in whatever you're putting in.
You bring up a really good point that you do need to be an expert. And I think kind of what we're going to talk in part 2 here in a minute is how many of these run plays should I use every year? And I think that is the limiting factors. What can you know so well, and how good of a teacher are you to pass on all the answers to everything you're trying to run? When we're talking just base run plays that are out there, right? Ones that coaches can pick from or should pick from. I don't know if there's a should in there, but definitely can. You talked kind of the difference in that gap and zone scheme. I feel like even within those, things have gotten so expanded. If you look at zone, right, there was inside and outside zone, and then there was tight zone and wide zone and mid zone and stretch. And so like you can very quickly, even in the zone side of the world, which I thought was the simplest. I thought that, kind of as I was learning ball, that's where there's two. It's inside and outside. No, now all of a sudden there's 7 different options of zone football just on aiming points and just on who you're reading and how you're getting these combos, et cetera, et cetera. So that's where, coaches, I think, generally need to pick pretty early if they're going to be gap scheme or zone scheme. And you mentioned a lot of deciding factors, right? Kind of who do you have that can actually tote the rock? Who's blocking for these plays? How much do you know? How much does your O-line coach know? But I think you lean on, like, what are you proficient in? What can you get answers for? Because if you've been a zone guy your entire life, you've played in the zone, you've coached the zone, but all of a sudden you're wanting to jump over and be a gun tee guy, and now we're going to run gap. Well, look, there's a lot of answers there, but when your feet are put to the fire in the middle of a game, your brain's going to be thinking in the zone scheme world, like, oh, I know how to solve that there, right? So it kind of comes down to what can you problem solve, less than or more than how many cool things can I run this year? Should I change up just because someone else is doing it? I think it all comes back to just what can you problem solve with. So, we look into the gap scheme world, and you talked about trap. We've talked about wham this morning. There's all these, you got long trap. You've got, all these different variations of blocking down, kicking out, and hitting a seam somewhere. There's a lot of base plays in there. And so just kind of figuring out which one of those you want to stick with. I think you probably should pick gap or zone just because there's so many different paths you can take on either one of those. But a lot of guys don't, right? Some guys run them all, and that's okay. But I bet they're leaning really heavy into some kind of as they get into the games. Let's talk, picking those that you should run. So should you run a few of these, or should you try to carry everything you've ever heard of into a game or into a season? Where do you kind of lie with that, Coach Simpson?
Again, I think that answer to the first question I asked, are you going to major in run game, or are you going to be a balanced team, or are you going to be a heavy pass team? That has to be answered before you come here. Because I think the problem a lot of people get into is, we want to be balanced, but we want to pass the ball. But we're spending a crazy amount of time on the run game. That's not going to be a good solution for you. So to me, you can carry more run scheme, but where are you taking the time from? I'll give you a real life example for us. Right now I've got a dynamic kid at quarterback. He's really good. He can sling it, and man, he's just as good or maybe even better when he runs it. And so you're kind of going, what world are we going to live in with this kid? We can do both, but if we think, okay, I think his legs are such a great weapon, and I think they are, we're going to play around with some power read stuff. So we're going to play around. I haven't done it in a couple of years. It's a run that is an extra. It's a little slight add-on. It really won't be super expensive, but it is an additional run. So if you're adding that in, where are we taking from? So for us to do that, that means we're limiting our quick game concept. We're still going to run quick game. We're still going to throw the ball, but we're not working on all these new concepts we were going to look at. Instead, we're going, tell you what, we think our O-line is going to be pretty good. I think I got a really couple good running backs, really good runner at quarterback. Let's play around with power read. Okay, but we understand if we get through the summer and we go, this is something we're going to use, then we're going to spend more time on that, and it's going to probably shrink our playbook in the passing game. It doesn't mean we can't throw it. It just means we're going to have to spend more time in the run game. We may make the decision halfway through summer, end of summer, that, you know what, we're throwing it better than I thought we would, and this is more expensive than I thought we would, so we're going to put it aside, and we're going to put more time into whatever it might be. So those are the questions you have to kind of ask as you go down the run game. Then you have to kind of figure out, okay, if we are going to add, how are we going to add? Because I've heard guys that'll get on there and they'll talk about, hey, yeah, we've got 180 plays in our playbook, and everybody kind of goes, oh, wow, my goodness gracious, and everybody kind of goes, that's ridiculous, and they get up there and start talking, and you realize, like, they go, we run duo, and then we have this other play that we call, Batman, which is duo insert, and this other play we call Robin, which is duo wrap the tackle. This other play we call, Joker, which is duo, but we pull the other tackle, and I'm going, that's the same play with tags. So
Absolutely.
it's tomato, tomato when you get in the world of tags. Do you have one run play? For me, let's say it's Trojan. We got one run play. Or when I run it with my A, am I calling it, Spartan? And now I have two plays, but really I have one play. So you just kind of have to figure out how you're going to get in that world. All of us are going to have tags. So the way we operate, and you're not wrong, by the way, you're not wrong to call Trojan to the F Trojan and Trojan to the A Spartan.
Right.
That's not wrong. We would get to it a different way by tagging it, but really kids will learn both. So I'm not arguing this side's right and this side is wrong. What I'm saying is when I say we only have 3 run plays, understand that those 3 run plays could all be run with different players. They all have different little tags that we can do and adjust. They can be run from different formations. So 3 doesn't sound like very much, but when you start tagging it up, it does become more expensive than just saying we only have 3. Well, it's a little more expensive than that. So you have to kind of understand how that works. I would say this: you need to major in a family of run scheme. If that's power counter, I know Daniel kind of likes that. That's fine. A lot of guys like that. A lot of 20 personnel guys, power counter, power counter, power counter with a lot of flavors. That's fine. For us, it's buck, it's Trojan, it's counter, and we run belly as well. So we kind of have basically maybe 4 concepts total. We run them both ways, strong and quick, but we tag a lot of stuff. So that's my advice to you would be don't run a bunch, but if they're in the same family, like to me, power and counter is, I'm not the expert on that, but they look like the same play.
Yeah.
So to me, like that's fine. You're in the same family. It's easy to add counter when you're already running power. Those are easy add-ons. But if you were going power counter buck, that's not on the same family. That's not run the same way. There are some elements that are the same, but it's very different. Or we want to go outside zone, and then we want to go pin and pull. Probably want to major in one of those. I'm not saying you can't run both, but we probably want to major, spend most of our time in one of those. And then if we want to play around with some additions, that's fine. And so I'm a really big believer in majoring in a couple concepts, a few concepts, but with the understanding it's fine to dabble in. We want to look at speed option and dabble in it. But if it becomes something, hey, we're going to do this, you better become an expert at doing it. If it's something you're going to pull out twice a week, once every 3 games as a wrinkle, you don't have to be an expert. But if it's something you're going to live with 10 times a game, 15 times a game, you better have all the answers to the potential problems that are going to come with that. And that's where I think you got to major in those runs.
Yeah. So, I think where you started with this is how heavy you're going to be in the run game, how heavy you're going to be in the pass game. It kind of gets back to it's reverse. In my area, generally people are going to run the ball, right? And so, but then they want to carry 15 pass concepts. And you always have to ask yourself, like, how many plays are you going to get in a game, right? So if you're average, you're going to get 60-ish plays. Okay, maybe that's over 7 or 8 possessions. What's your game plan going to be going? Like most people are going to run a base play and then answer a question that the defense asks, right? So I'm going to come out and run my inside zone or run my buck or run duo or whatever it is you run. And then who made the tackle, and you get in that if-then play calling, okay? Well, if I'm doing that, that's 3 calls that need to go to that base play. So you can pretty quickly, you're going to run out of chances to call a play, right? So you don't, and that's why I think it's so important to stick with a few run concepts and a few pass concepts and just get good at them, because there's just not enough time to pull the trigger on all of them. We all want that crazy 2-point play, or I always think back to the Buffalo Bills came out after halftime in the snow and Josh Allen ran the ball every single time and it looked like a different play every time. we all want to be able to do that, but what are the odds that it's actually going to happen? And you're talking about the difference in guys who spend all day playing football versus guys who get 2 hours a day, 5 or 6 days a week for like 4 months, and then you're not allowed to utter the word football anymore, right? So you're very short on how much time you have to put all this stuff in anyway, and then you're going to be super reduced on what you can actually call in a game. If you're going to be pass heavy and 2/3 of the time you're going to pass, that's 40 plays gone right off the top. I have 20 run calls to make. I live in the tag world because I want to run the same 2 or 3 of those run plays and then just tag the dickens out of them, right? That's where we want to live. That's how we want to make changes. If you're going to go out and run a different run concept every time, I think you're going to see execution drop anyways, but you're just going to run out of chances to call them. Second piece of that, when you're asking, how should I run a few of these? Should I run all of them? I think you should minimize up front. Kenny, you called it families. We called it buckets, containers. I've heard it called lots of things over the years, schemes overall even. But if your kids are primarily stepping up to the line and thinking gap down backer or some version of that, you can probably mix up who the pullers are. You can probably mix up who's running the ball, what formation that's out of, because we know that we're stepping up to the line and we're thinking primarily along this one neural pathway. If I'm constantly flipping from gap to zone, we may see a little more of an issue. So I think minimize the learning up front. I'm not saying you can't carry both. You should probably have both because there's going to be that game when I just really need to capture the edge and I'm not good at it's hard to do that when you're gap down backer away from the edge, right? Makes it a little when I'm trying to kick that dude, but he's blowing things up and I just need to capture him. I just need to trap him in there one time. You need some outside zone to just kind of make those things happen. But minimizing up front, reduce what those guys have to really learn, reduce what they have to execute perfectly. And that's why I love the tag world, because we can just go out and run 3 run plays and then we'll just tag it, make it look crazy everywhere else. I think if you're going to run a bunch of these, and I don't know what the perfect answer is, it seems like when I look at your offense from the outside, it looks like you run 2 things. You run buck sweep and you run belly. And then you have things that you call Trojan, which are just buck sweep with some extra rules. And then that kind of looks like it. And you've been pretty daggum successful at running 3 base run plays, right? I think anyone can do that. I think you can do that with it because it's just learning the answers. Gets into the tag world. I want to be able to carry the answers to whatever the defense is doing to make me unsuccessful versus, that play's no good. Get rid of it. Call another play. Call a completely different run scheme because the defense made us, they made a good play one time. I just don't think that makes a lot of sense. All right, let's jump into the last piece here, Kitty. And it's talking about, and this is, honestly, all these could be one big question today, but how are we maximizing the execution of these base run plays? We go through, we pick what family we're going to live in. We pick what plays we want to run. Maybe they don't match at all. Maybe, they look like all the exact same play until they don't. Whatever it is, how are we maximizing execution on game night?
Yeah, I think that we kind of hit on a few of these. I got to do a call the other night on the Fieldhouse group we have where we just talked about Trojans. So I'll just use that as an example here because that was the play I spent probably an hour going through with guys on just Sunday night. So let's say we decide a Trojan, which for us is pin and pull, is going to be one of our base runs. This is going to be something we're going to be really, really good at. We're going to run Trojan, and then we actually even run jet, which it goes to the quick side, is the same. The blocking is the same. So how do we make this something that we can be great at? So the first thing we try to do is we figure out, okay, what is the easiest way to get the rules across to anyone that might be involved in the blocking scheme? Because now I think if you're going to run perimeter run game, which for us Trojan is that, it's an edge play, your receivers could become part of the blocking scheme depending on what formation you end up. So you can't just teach run scheme to your 5 linemen and the receivers don't have to pay attention. Now I think you have to teach rules to them too. So we bring all them over there, say, okay, guys, if we're going to run Trojan and you happen to be over here, this is your rule. So we might start off with their base rule is you're going to block, gap down backer just like the linemen are. That's probably not what we're going to do with them, but let's say their rule is you're going to block a safety. You're going to work inside from linebacker to safety. So if you are tight enough because of formation rule that you can get to a linebacker, that's what you're going to do. If you're too wide, you're going to work to the safety. So that's your rule. So now I could get into unlimited formations. If you get stuck over here, we call Trojan, what's my rule? If I'm tight, I go to linebacker. If I'm wide, I go to safety. Everybody good? Yes, sir, we're good. Okay, then now you guys go back with the receivers and do what receivers do. Okay, then we work with our attached bodies. So that means tight ends, H-backs, and linemen. Everyone that's attached into the run game fit. So say, okay, if we're going to run Trojan for us, we're going to work from the outside in. And here's how we're going to identify who we're blocking. And we give them a rule. I've got whatever that rule is. So let's say our H-back, if you're attached, you have the force player. That's number one. Our tight end has the next guy inside. That's number two. Our tackle would have the next guy inside. Well, let's do math. 1, 2, 3. I got 3. The guard would have 4. And we just say, okay, that's how we're going to do this. If we get to you and you go, okay, I have 3 or I have 4 and there's not one there, we're going to pull. Yep. So that's kind of your rule on Trojan. All right, well, what happens if the H-back's not attached? Well, now the tight end starts to count. I've got number 1. Tackle has number 2. Guard has number 3. So we work this where what if we don't have a tight end? Well, tackle has number 1. Guard has number 2. Are we seeing, guys, this is a rule that we could get into with any look. The defense could line up in any look, and we block our rule. And I think you have to be extremely big on being rule-based, whatever run you pick. I just gave you the example of Trojan because it's kind of fresh on my mind. You could do the same thing with inside zone. Your rule on inside zone might be, I'm working inside gap. If nothing shows up, we're doubling wherever we're going to double. I'm not an inside zone guru, but whatever our rules are, need to answer, what if we get this look? What if we get that look? What if we get whatever look? And I think if you're running a perimeter run, you better have rules for your receivers as well. So for me, the big thing is let's make sure we have our rules built in that would answer any potential look that we might get. Because we might get a lot of looks. We might get, whatever look. I might have a receiver that's in the formation this play and he's not in the formation that play. What rule would answer every possible solution? Then it's okay to tag stuff, but we need to make sure that our base rule covers us for everything. If it doesn't, you need to keep reevaluating until you come up with their base rule. That's why the wing T law, the rule on buck sweep is gap down backer. It doesn't matter what front they get in, we're blocking down. And so whatever that rule might be. Second point I have on this is once you have that in, so once you have your rules in, then you can do what a lot of coaches say is window dressing. We can dress up the run with motions. We can send orbit motion. We can send motion from the backfield. We can send motion across the field. We can shift and change the formation, the strength of the formation. We can bring this guy over here. We can do all kinds of crazy things that does not mess with our offensive line or attached guys' rules. Their rules don't change one bit. We're just moving guys around back there to make the defense have to respond. Because I know I've coached on defense. Usually the first thing those guys do is they work on formations. So if I can get them working on formations and not working on fit, I've kind of moved the advantage to me. So we're going to window dress a lot of this stuff up. We're not adding RPOs. We're not adding play action. We're just giving some pretty window dressing, some motion here, some formation there, a shift here, whatever that might be for you. Then I would highly suggest if you're in the shotgun, some kind of quarterback run game, whether that's wildcat or with your normal guy, that's the cheat code. Because now I can do a lot of stuff then. I can fake the running back away and run the quarterback this way. I can lead with the running back. I can put the running back out into the formation and go empty. I can do a lot of things that structurally change the defense, but I'm running the same run. So, for example, if we're going back to our Trojan, let's say I line up in our normal formation, which is tight end wing to the right in red, twins to the left, and I take the running back and we send him in a quick, we call it flash motion. So he's going to motion to the twins. So now I have trips, and now my quarterback is going to just run Trojan. Well, what did I do? Why did I do that? Well, when he motions out there to twins, the defense has to do something. If they do nothing, we can throw the screen out there. If they spin to the trips, I'm running away from where they spun. So I'm gaining a number. So again, we're going to use quarterback run game in that world. Then finally, you've got to have RPO or play action to really maximize your run game. So the way I look at it, we kind of divide the field out in 6 segments. So run game right, run game middle, run game left, pass game right, pass game middle, pass game left. If you make a tackle with somebody from one of those boxes, I need a call in the RPO game or the play action game to attack that. So if I ran the ball to the right and somebody from the middle of the defense made the tackle, what RPO or play action do I have that would attack where that guy is supposed to be? And so when you're building out your run game, what are we going to do if we can't get the backside linebacker blocked? What are we going to do if the safety commits down in the box to make a tackle? You got to have play actions. You got to have RPOs to solve those problems, because you can't just add more numbers in the box, because they're going to keep adding more numbers in the box. So as you're doing run game, those are the things you have to think about to protect it. I think you're muted, Coach.
I am muted. That's what happens when a youngin comes into the room. Got the youngin at home today. So those are all great points, and in fact, you stole most of the things that I would put here, which is okay. That's we've been doing this a few years now, so we think alike. The ability to go add. You talked about you can't always just add numbers to the box, but the ability to move numbers around, I think, is huge, and that does come from the tag world. But if you're going to go unbalanced, which is kind of what I think about when anyone's attached to the line, right? So moving tackles over, adding extra tight ends, different people connected, and then overload, which is in my world, wide receivers, right? Massing wide receivers. So that may be quads, maybe all 5, going empty and all 5 are on the same side of the ball. Changing numbers that make things look not like they belong on Saturday or Sunday is where I think you can get a lot of mileage to maximize that execution. You talked about quarterback run game. Once you get there, and I'm a GT counter guy, so once I can take all the unnecessary players off the field, if I want to run GT counter with the quarterback, that's 6 people. Well, that gives me 5 people to do whatever I want with and confuse your players. Maybe they're extra blockers. You brought up the RPOs, so I can be putting bodies where I need them to answer those. Hey, this guy's making a play. Cool. We're going to put a wide receiver there and see if he stays home or does he keep trying to come make the tackle. Just massing numbers. There's nothing worse than seeing 5 wide receivers out there on one side, and you don't know if your guys know all the rules. You don't know if your guys can run their coverage to that. You don't know if you've covered it enough, and then we start over adjusting, and now the quarterback was just running GT counter anyway. So that's kind of where I think you can get the maximize execution out of your base stuff. Once again, don't add anything for those guys up front. I truly believe you can do a lot of things in football with them knowing 5 to 7 plays. That's pass pro and some run stuff, right? They don't need a lot of other stuff up front. And then you really get the maximum mileage out of it by moving all the guys around the back. And you already covered a bunch of them: window dressing, getting that quarterback going, running your RPOs or your play action, your screen game, however you want to phrase those. Those are just add-ons to the base run game. But At the base of all that is getting really good at one thing so that you as a coach, or a few things, so that you as a coach can answer those questions, right? If I'm trying to run inside and outside zone, duo, toss, speedo, power, counter, buck, and I'm trying to run all that on the same night, and then some kid is making a play from the middle of the field, I don't know if it was a missed assignment. I don't know if I just didn't have numbers over there. Did they align and just make the right play call? There's too many variables. And my kids probably think the same thing. They're trying to block up all this stuff, and they just can't. You've gotten too many rules, too many things for them to do. So I think minimizing the schemes you're trying to put in the first place is a great way to be better and maximize that execution for your base run plays. All right, Coach, I think we've checked all the boxes here on base run plays. You can see there's a lot to it. You can go out and be whatever family you want. You're pushing it to get super educated and kind of learning all the ins and outs of any of that now. But I'm not saying it can't be done. Jump over to FB Coach Simpson or the guntee.com. What is it now? What's the Guntee's website?
Gunteesystem.com.
Gunteesystem.com. There you go. Get signed up over there. He can make you a professional in buck and belly and all the good things, the RPOs. We are adding a new piece to the podcast today, and you should be able to see a lot of these. And we're going to talk about Kenny's new venture, which is the Field House. So first of all, Coach, we didn't talk about it in the beginning. So what is the Field House, and how can people get signed up there? And then we'll talk about what y'all are talking about this week.
Sure. Yeah. So the Field House basically is a community that I've decided to start. That if you're a system owner, so if you've purchased the Guntee system, you're already in. Then we're making it available for people that want to kind of come in. It's that way you want to be big part of the Guntee or the 3-4 Swarm or some of the head coaching materials we have. So we're going to have 3 calls a month where I get on there and we kind of go behind the scenes of whatever that topic might be. So we did one a couple weeks ago where it was like our spring install. Like, how do we install the Guntee if we only have this many days and this many coaches? And then last week we talked heavy on Trojan. A lot of guys had questions. So what we're doing is essentially we're taking the questions from the guys that are in the group, and then we're doing sessions over those questions. So the sessions are set up where we'll do 30 minutes or so where I'll answer we did Trojan. And then you got about 20 minutes of Q&A, where it's whatever you want to ask, we'll answer it. So the goal for me was, how can I make things better for coaches in season, during the off season, where we can be specific to their needs. So it'll be a limited group. Right now, I think we've got about 20 guys that are in the Field House, and we've got obviously all the Guntee system. It's like 300 guys that have it available to them. But we'll do Zoom calls every Sunday that I'm able to. I told we'll do at least 3. My goal is to do 1 a week. And it's just a chance for you to ask questions about what you have. We also have inside of the Field House all of your base needs if you want to run the Guntee or the 3-4 Swarm. So there's 4 courses on how we would build the 3-4 Swarm already in there. There's 8 courses on the Guntee. And then every time we do a Zoom call, we record it and it goes in there. So it's going to be a living, breathing kind of membership. It's over at fbcoachsimpson.com /the-fieldhouse, or just go to fbcoachsimpson.com, scroll down a little bit, there's a link there. And you can click that and join it. And we have a Facebook group as well as a private Facebook group. So it's only going to be guys that are in that group, and all of us who posting a lot more kind of behind the scenes type information in that. So to me, it's kind of that exclusive opportunity to connect with not just me, but to connect with guys across the country that are all in this together. So whether you run the Guntee or not, I think it's a very good resource. We're going to talk defense the month of June. We're going to talk in 2 weeks. We're going to talk about the new book I'm putting out. So we're putting out Iron Valley, and we're going to talk about all the mistakes I made as a head coach. And then it'll be a Q&A at the end of it. Don't ask too many other mistakes. I'm just going to give you a few of them. But then that's basically kind of what we're going with it. I know the next meeting, so the meeting coming up Sunday night, I got a lot of guys asking about, what do you do to man zero? So we're going to do an entire session, 40 minutes, over how I attack man zero. And then the last 20 minutes will be for guys to ask whatever questions they've got, be it over that or another problem they have. And then we'll kind of section out the next couple topics based off of the feedback from the coaches in the group. So I think it's going to be a really, really cool opportunity that for guys to get in there and connect. Again, not just with me. I will be bringing in guest speakers. It gets to a topic where I'm not the expert. We're going to go bring in somebody who is and let them talk about it. So don't think it's just Coach Simpson, because there's a lot of things I don't know enough about to help you. But I will go find somebody who can, and we'll bring them in to make sure if you've got a question, a problem, or whatever with coaching, we want to have this be a one-stop place. I can come. I have a direct question I need answered, and I can get it answered. Because I know how it is September 4th, where you got a game 3 days from now and you need a question answered. And that's kind of what this group will be meant to handle.
I love it. So this week, you talked about you're doing the man zero. That seems like it always that's the first defensive answer to the gun T system, right? It's just go man zero and make guys play balls. So I think that'll be a great one to jump in on. If you, once again, like Kenny said, if you're a system owner, if you've already bought into the gun T system, then you're in, right? No cost to you. If you're an outsider and you're wanting to get in, this is a great place to kind of dip your toes in the water, see if the group is for you, see if the system is for you, because you're going to see a lot of the answers. So I think these are a great place to get started. And then maybe you do go on to buy the system for the gun T. So great place to be, man, is jumping in there on Sunday nights and just talking a little ball with the coaches. All right, mention our sponsors one more time. Ace Sports. Don't forget to jump over to acesports.com or email mark.bridges@acesports.com. Let him talk to you about all the things they can do. I know we're a football podcast, but man, the things I've seen on basketball arenas, things I've seen, they do a lot of really fun stuff. Super professional, but what I mean is like professional sports quality. You can take your high school gymnasium and look better than the local D2 college if you want. It's kind of just whatever your dream is. They can help you build that out. Winning Edge Performance Analytics, go talk to Doug. It's a great time to get in, especially with these team camps and spring ball and all that stuff kind of on the horizon here. It's a great place to practice and get good at using the system. Look at the Winning Edge Performance Analytics is a system you're going to have to add into your Friday mechanics. How do we mechanically do Friday nights? Someone's got to be on that iPad putting in data, but it's worth it. And you'll find that really, really quickly. And then don't forget to reach out to our friends over at Blended Threads LLC, Morgan at blendedthreadsllc.com. Social media wise, I am at Coach Chambo OK on Twitter/X. You can email me at chamberlainfootballconsulting@gmail.com. Coach Simpson, where are you at, sir?
Well, all things FB Coach Simpson. So the field house is over there. Whatever you want to buy is over there, or free stuff, headsets, which we'll be putting out another one at the end of May. We're getting through graduation with my son, and then we'll put out the 5th issue of headsets for this year, and we'll put one more out in June. So lots of free materials all over at fbcoachsimpson.com. And that's also my handles on Twitter and even on Facebook. I've started back FB Coach Simpson. So all that stuff is available all under the same name.
Love it. Awesome. Don't forget to go check us out on Twitter at Coaching 101 Pod. We want to thank you for being a listener to the Coaching 101 podcast. We'll hope you join us next week as we continue to make the complex more simple. Please consider subscribing to the show so you'll always know when the new episodes are out. We'll leave you with this. It's hard to beat someone who never gives up. No matter the situation, find a way.